Java data types. There are two categories of Java data types in Java. One is called primitive data types and non-primitive data types. In primitive data types, we have 8 different types of data variables like byte, integer, float, double, long, Boolean, and character. So these kind of simple variables that store simple values like decimal values or fractional values or true or false or a single character, for example. And there is also a different category called non-perimeter data types, which are deals with which basically deals with strings, classes, and objects. Now, this is the a little advanced concept in Java, but the focus of this video for now is to use these primitive data types, and I will show you in the next couple of minutes how we use them and how we store different kind of values in primitive data types. All right, so here we are using, we are talking about the data types. So there are two different data types, one we call primitive data types and non-primitive data types. So here you can see I have prepared some notes. So these are basically the primitive data types, so which has byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and character. And the non-primitive data types are called as strings, arrays, and classes. So for this video, I'm just talking about the primitive data types, and that is the focus of this video for now. All right, so first of all, if we talk about bytes, so the one byte stores whole numbers from 128 to 127. So minus 128 to 127. So in total, approximately 256, 255, 0 to 255 numbers. Similarly, short is a 2 byte stores is a double then to this, which is like two's complement of 7, I guess. But it's like you can store numbers from this range minus 32,768 to 32,767. Then we have a int integer type, which is like 4 bytes, stores whole numbers from this big number. I don't know. I just don't know how to call it. So it's like a very big number. And similarly, is a long. It's like a 8 bytes stores whole numbers from this big number to this big number. So it's like a range from negative to positive. And something like as opposite to integer and long, we have float and double, which stores the decimal point numbers. So like these are the whole numbers, but these are the fractional numbers. You can see like 3.142 and some that kind of words numbers you can store in these kind of variables, data variables. Then we have a Boolean, which is 1 bit. Either it can store true or false. So like a two, literally two values in it. And finally, we have this character. It stores 2 bytes, stores a single character letter or ASCII value. So yeah. So now let's define how we can define. So for example, we go byte and we give some names or byte var, for example, and we give it a number, let's say 10. And we can use, for example, sys out, and there we are going to print it out byte var. We run the program, we can see that 10 is printed. Now notice what happens if I change this number out of this range. So if I use, for example, minus 1000, for example, now it starts complaining. The compiler itself, like before executing, even I didn't execute the program's makes complain about it that there is something wrong in it. Now if I hover it on this, it said type mismatch, cannot convert from int to byte. So it's like an integer number now here, because it's false in this category. Even it's like also a short number, but for some reasons the compiler only recognizes it as an int, because this short is also an int type. So that's why I think this is the base uh, integer type. So yeah, so we cannot go further than this. Minus 125 also works because it is inside this range. And if you run this program, it's print the number as it is. Similarly, if we go with the other amounts like short, and we give it a name short var, and again we assign some value that is, for example, 1000, and here we are going to print it out on the console. That works fine. But if we try to increase the number, for example, we copy this here and paste it here, and we give it a increment to it. So notice if you don't use commas here, otherwise it will make problem. Again, here it says type mismatch cannot convert from int to a short. Ah, yeah, okay, so we are trying to use it int, but it's not converting into a short, which means we have to be inside this range to make it work. It is helpful, like we are. It's the beauty of Java that we are not using a variable that can store a large number of amount, rather than we are restricting it to a specific quantity. Like you don't exceed the memory for, like don't allocate memory for the variables that you won't use for bigger numbers, for example. So that's why we call it memory efficient. I think that should be one of the reasons why we call it. And similarly, if we go for again int, they are like similar. Like maybe I can use a float and use float var, and then here I can give some number with some 3.142. Okay, so still I'm getting some error. I don't know why. I misspelled double to float. Okay. Ah, yeah. So we, for the float, we have to use the keyword f, I guess. Not, no, not like this, but like this. Yeah, that's how you have to define a float variable. You have to add f in the end of the number, and whatever the number you are typing, just give f to it at the end. And yeah, again, if you print it, it will work. And I think this is also something with the double, but not sure. But okay, let's try with the double thing. If double also works like this, double var and is equals to 3.142. Okay, so double works without it, without the need of this thing. But for float, you need to define f in the end. And then finally, you have Boolean and character. So like how you define Boolean, for example, Boolean word activation equals to true, and that's it. Whatever the value is there, it will be printed here. And finally, we have character. We define character to, I don't know, maybe abbreviation, for example, and we give it some ABC. Let's see if it works. Basically, it says that it can that character 2 byte stores a single character or letter or ASCII value. That means we can only add single value. We cannot use ABC or some different. Otherwise, it will become a string. And notice that we are using here this single quotes and not the double quotes. If you use double quotes, then it will become a string, and that is not the right type of for this type of data type. And again, if we try to print it, it will simply print it. Okay, so that's it for this video, and I see you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe this channel if you haven't already. And in order to make this tutorial interactive, I put some tutorial for you, questions. So just let me know if you know the answers, and just write your answers in the comment section below, so I know that I'm able to teach something. Like, it's just keep motivating me just to give some feedbacks. All right, thanks, and see you next time. Bye bye.